walk on the wild side. Yeah, I know, it can be dangerous, but it's just plain fun. And this is fun. The Marc Jacobs, the Wild One, Holiday Edition 2017. I nearly lisped that. Multi-finish, Eye-Conic eyeshadow palette. Lots of words, but this is a beautiful thing. When Marc Jacobs put out his last year's edition, the 2016 edition, I wasn't very keen on it because he was kind of like treading in that neutral, safe territory. And this one, he kind of jumped into the jungle with all the colors. Well, at least a good amount of colors. And the thing is that I've always wanted to try a Marc Jacobs eyeshadow palette. Listen, when I walked into a Sephora store, this was before I had touched any Natasha Denona or any really luxury brand eyeshadows, and I put my finger in the 7-pan eyeshadow palettes that he has. Now, this is before he kind of revamped them, and listen, I had never felt anything more buttery. It had kind of an almost thickish, buttery, pigmented texture, and I was like, I was in seventh heaven with those shadows, and I had never really touched anything quite that quality before. So I said to myself, one of these days I've got to get a Marc Jacobs eyeshadow palette. And so I planned for over a year to get one of these palettes, and I decided, listen, I kind of wanted the 7-pan, but I still kind of feel restricted. I know that it can give you more, like, it stirs up your creative juices when you go with the 7-pan. So, but I'm a bit spoilt. I like a little larger palette, and I knew that he comes out with this every year. And then I realized when I finally decided I had the money, because secret, I had a Sephora credit for a decent amount. So I covered this palette. When I decided I was going to be able to do it, I realized it's holiday season. It was September, and I'm going like, wait a second, all the holiday releases are coming out now, let me go check. And sure enough, the Marc Jacobs one came out. And the thing is, I was also holding off because I was really hoping in my gut, because of all the new trends coming out that is more cooler, which is a little bit more colorful, kind of out of that neutral funk and that, the warm tones. I was a happy camper when purple and blues were coming up. That's just totally my jam. I'm kind of like a purple people eater. So I was like, surely this year Marc Jacobs is gonna go a little more fun. And he did not disappoint. He came out with this, and I was a happy camper. I got you, Marc Jacobs, I got you. You and I, we were kind of like zoning into each other, kind of Twilight zoning, So you are going to get a review, a little eyeshadow demo, and of course swatches. So review comes first, swatches comes next, eyeshadow demo comes third. It's just a mini little demo. So let's get started. Let's face it, this is a luxury brand eyeshadow palette. It's a limited edition, it's a holiday fair, and yes, it is luxury. So let's release the elephant from the room. This costs US $99, Canadian, $124. Now remember, I got this on a Sephora credit, okay? So I planned my little thing. So I bought it in the store. When I was going into the store and I was asking a Sephora employee whether they had this in their store, she goes, well, what does it look like? So I said, well, it kind of looks like a flying saucer with a zebra camouflage. So we had a good laugh because it kind of does look like that. And I love the design. I don't know about anybody else, but I do love this beautiful zebra design. And it actually kind of looks like the Sephora stripes. And it's very sleek. It's very firm. It's got the eyeshadow legend, and it's in color at the back, and it also comes in this really fancy box here with the same zebra thing. You got the Marc Jacobs, you got the description of the palette, you even got the grams and everything there. You get again the legend, you get the ingredients here, and you get a description of the different finishes. It's called multi-finish because there are a number of finishes. So it's sleek, it's got a mirror in it, it's easy to travel with, it's sturdy. The only two caveats I have with it is that straight out of the box, there was a little, now of course I can't, oh there it is. There was a little scrape to it already, so the enamel kind of scrapes off a bit right out of the box. I hadn't even touched it, I just pulled it out of the box and it already had that little scrape. So I think for the amount of money you're paying, I don't think you should be having that kind of stuff on it. I love the clasp. This is really nice and sleek. The only problem is that it's not user-friendly. It's not very intuitive because I kind of think that you're to pull out and then it releases, the top releases, but it actually doesn't. You have to push in, and I still have to practice at doing this. I get it for a little bit and then I lose my bearings. So you got to push in the clasp and then release the lid, and then it opens. So it's not very user-friendly, let me tell you. With practice you will get it and then you'll be fine. But if you forget, you just remember, push the clasp in. So anyway, here goes. We open it up, voila, here you get the beautiful colors, and then you have the sleeve here, which I do like. It's a removable sleeve, and then you got the crazy mirror, and it is beautiful. It really works out very well. It's the full back. If you notice that the colors are in columns, the similar colors, so you can make a look with those columns. I like that. I like when a palette is organized. I sometimes like when a palette is more random in shadows because it kind of stimulates your creative juices and to think outside of the box. But I also, that kind of like perfectionism in me and the OCD part of me kind of also likes an organized palette too. So this one is right up my alley in its organization, but I never keep to that. If the palette is organized, I never keep to that. It just kind of helps, gives you a guide, and then you can just go wild because it is called the Wild One palette, right? Notice it's a little bit more cool tone, so I'm liking that. I'm kind of tired of all these warm trends and these neutral trends, so I am all for the cool tone palette. And the nice thing about this is that you still have your safety zones in here, so you can go a little wild, you can kind of walk around in the jungle, and then you can go back into the meadow, the safety zone. So this is a nice safety zone right here. This first row here is a neutral row. This one here has a little bit of a goldeny green, seafoamy green with a golden shifting, but it's still kind of, this area here is the neutral row, and then here is a safe warm row. So it's a really nicely balanced palette because you do have your warm, you have your neutral, and then you have the rest that you can go wild in. We are going to talk about the value of this palette. I know, it is luxury. What's value about luxury? But let me just compare apples to apples and some apples to oranges. This gives you 20 shadows and you get 0.8 grams of shadow per pan. Now, that only gives you 16 grams of product eyeshadow altogether. And remember, you're paying $99 US for that. The cost per gram of shadow for this is $6.19 per gram of shadow. Now, if you compare it with the Natasha Denona's Lila palette, and I still have to do a review on this. This, you get 15 pans of eyeshadow compared to 20, but in this, you are getting 2.5 grams of product compared to only 0.8 grams. 0.8 grams is not a lot. Sometimes I think if I swatch too much, I might use up my shadow. No, I'm exaggerating here, but still 0.8 grams, 2.5 grams. Now, let me tell you, Natasha Denona is giving a lot more than the norm in eyeshadow. The amount of eyeshadow per pan. 2.5 grams is a lot of eyeshadow. Generally, you're speaking in a more about 0.95, which you get grams, which you get in like a Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, to like 1.3 to 1.5 grams. So this is a lot. This is kind of a little. 16 grams altogether to 37 grams of eyeshadow altogether in this. Now, got to remember also too, Natasha Denona is a makeup artist. She kind of thinks more as a pro palette, where Marc Jacobs is a designer and he's kind of thinking more as a consumer palette, okay? So pro artist palette, consumer palette. With that, the cost per gram with this is only $3.44. That's in a kind of a decent range. If you get under $3 per gram of product, you're doing good. She just goes over it. This is kind of crazy over it. So when it comes to these two, Natasha Denona's is giving you way more value for your buck. So you're paying $30 more, but you're getting way more bang for your buck. 37.5 grams of product, 16 grams of product. If you can compare this to Marc Jacobs' Eye-Conic palette, that's where you're gonna see a bit of the value, because you're only getting 7 eyeshadows in his 7-pan palettes. And again, you're only getting 0.8 grams of product per shadow. So with that, you have to buy 2 palettes. And when you do, you're only getting 14 eyeshadows and it's costing you $98. $99, 20 eyeshadows, $98, only 14 eyeshadows. So you are getting, when you're comparing inside his brand, you're getting a better value. So let's get into the deliciousness of his eyeshadows. The interesting part of this, the whole thing. And so as you can see, it's organized in columns so that you get kind of, you know, the different color families in the columns, and you can create your looks. The 2 safety zones, the first column and the 4th column, your typical warms, and then your kind of neutrals with a bit of the neutrals have flair. Let me tell you, the neutrals have flair. They're numbered and they're named in animal-inspired idiom. You get nest egg, which is beautiful. You get cat call, crow's nest, chameleon. You get the picture. These shadows come in 4 multi-finishes. Now, part of some of them I understand, some of them I don't. He's not using the typical name. So you get velvet, which I assume is the mattes, because the mattes are like these velvety, pigmented, lusciousness, buttery eyeshadows. Then you get satin. I have no idea which ones are the satin. I'm sorry, I really don't know. You get the silk. I'm assuming those are the metallic-y ones. And you get duochrome metallics, and you get metallic-y metallic. Then you get one lame. This is where you see you're getting the multi-finish, because the lame, I found out, is the glitter eyeshadow. So this one here is the lame, which is a glitter eyeshadow, and it's called Hen Party. It's this kind of pinky fuchsia glitter with an underbase of orange. You know, Kat Von D's Saint and Sinner palette has a version of it. Also, Fenty Beauty's The Galaxy palette actually has a version of it. It is on my lids. And the cool thing is that it kind of, sometimes, like for my eye, sometimes the glitter, when it settles on my eye after a couple of hours, the glitter kind of settles down and it turns more of this gorgeous, incredible shine, glowy orange. The duochromeness of the orange base really shines through, so you can see it right here. I actually like to call this my my Halo Paradise palette, and the reason why is because there are a lot of very light lid colors in this palette, more than I've seen in a lot of other palettes, which is kind of interesting. And so with that, you can create a lot of halo looks with this, because it gives that beautiful contrast, because they're colored eyeshadows but they're icy light ones. So for instance, Nest Egg is this beautiful seafoam green, light icy green with a golden shift. It's unbelievable. Then you have Early Bird, another icy, very, very icy seafoam color. Then you have Funny Bunny. Now, Funny Bunny, which is an icy sky blue. But then you get Sheepish here, which is an icy pink lavender. And then you have Lion Share, which is an icy pink. They give really amazing halo eye looks. Here are my other standout colors that I really, really like. Golden Fleece is amazing. It actually reminds me of Natasha Denona's Lila palette Dragon Bite. I don't know why, because they're actually slightly different colors, but there's something about them that reminds me of it. This has a kind of an orangey base with this kind of goldeny greeny flip to it. That's the thing about Marc Jacobs eyeshadows, and that's what I find about luxury eyeshadows. They're very, very dimensional. There's a lot of dimension to the colors. So not just the flat color like you would see in maybe lower end brands or middle end brands. There's a lot more dimension in these colors. So this one here is that kind of orangey base with this kind of goldeny greeny seafoam flip. It's just beautiful. And Natasha Denona has Dragon Bite, which has this kind of winey, instead of being orange, it's winey underbase with this amazing kind of greeny flip to it. The only thing is that I find the greeny flip doesn't flip as much green. So what I like to do, you see, I like mixing and hacking colors, is that I figured out that if I put Nest Egg over Natasha Denona's lightly over Natasha Denona's Dragon Bite, I get the exact flip that I want on that color, and it is a beautiful thing. So just remember, you can hack colors, you can mix colors, and I'm going to be talking about that just a second. Then another favorite one of mine is this other duochrome Chameleon. Now this is a beautiful thing. There's a lot of brands, every brand has been doing it ever since probably the first one. I think MAC was the one that first came out with it, MAC's Blue Brown or something like that. I'm assuming they're the ones that came out with it, and ever since then I'm assuming maybe that was like the first duochrome that ever came out or something. So everybody and their uncle, every brand came out with their version. Makeup Geeks is Insomnia. They all have kind of a brownie or a winey underbase with a blue shift to it. I always wish that they had the undercolor, that burgundy brownie undercolor. I always wish it was purple. And I'm going, why don't they make a purple version so that it's purple base with a blue shift to it? And I'm telling you, me and Mark, we're kind of like, we got that Twilight Zone-y thing going on where like, he's reading my mind or something, or my vibrations, because this one is exactly the way I like it. It's got that purple underbase with that blue gorgeous shift, and this is Chameleon. Now there's a lovely dupe to the Subculture's Axis color. Now actually what happened to me is I had to return that palette, because after I did my eye and did that review that same day, by the evening I kept the eyeshadow on my eye, and by the evening my eyes started to have a major allergic reaction. I had to wash off my eyes. I had to soak my eyes about 3 or 4 times with a hot wet rag and then soak it in the morning. Thank goodness I caught it quickly, so I had no repercussions. If I don't catch it quickly, I go through like a week of pain and soaking my eyes and not being able to wear eyeshadow, but I caught it quickly. So with that, I kept the palette for a little while thinking that maybe, but I decided no, you know what, it's too risky, so I returned it. But look, Marc Jacobs did one right here, which is called Crow's Nest, and this is practically an exact dupe of of Axis because I really love that color. It's a beautiful, deep teal. And this one is almost as deep as that. Hopefully, I'm not actually allergic to this one. So that's awesome. Then what I love is that Marc Jacobs put in I call them colored neutrals when they're not like so browned or so grayed that they just kind of go on as brown and gray on my eyes. So this one here is a colored neutral cat call, and this one's like a more of a mauvey, dusty rosy color, and this one's more on the mauvey purpley color, and that one is Dog and Pony. And I love using this. This is actually what I used in my crease, but what I like to do is they're still not as colorful enough as I'd like my transitions to be. So what I do is I hack it, and there's no rules. That's what you do. Use your palettes like palettes. And so I mixed this one cat call with Bullseye Red, and I just dab my brush back and forth, tap off, and put it on my eye. And depending on whether it's going a little too deeply red or it's getting too grayed out, if it's going a little bit too deeply red, I put my last tap in the lighter color to tone it down, and same goes with this. So I used also deep in my crease this color Dog and Pony with Freebird, and as you can see, I'm not quite sure, the corner of it looks a little bit mixed, and that's where I tapped. I try to use one side of the circle to tap my brush in when I'm mixing colors, and basically I use the same thing, and it tones down the metallicness of the color so it doesn't look as shiny in the crease, and yet you've manipulated the color to where you wanted it to be. So that's how you can hack your transition colors, and that's what I like to do. I do that in the Natasha Denona Lila palette because her transition colors tend to be a little bit more muted, either more gray or more browny, and so that's how I kind of hike up the color. But then with the Lila palette, you can use those other more colorful colors in your crease because they blend out to a lighter, more transitioning color. So there's a little more flexibility in the sense with her shadows. I'm not quite sure, I didn't test them out with this one, but hacking them is a very simple thing to do, and it's fun. Let's go into the swatches and the mini demo.
Heaven sent an angel. Heaven sent an angel. Every night, every day, I put my hands together and pray that it won't be long till you come along. I've been waiting.
So the way I got this eye look, first I put Urban Decay's Eden Primer on my lids to prime my lids. Then I overlaid the #1 Paper Tiger, a nice light cream color, over the base so that it kind of covers up the stickiness. I went in my upper crease, I hacked the color and I used Cat Call mixed with a Bullseye, and I dabbed my brush into each one, and depending on whether I wanted it to be a little bit more burgundy or more neutralized, my last tap would be in. If I wanted it more burgundy, the Bullseye. If I wanted to neutralize a little, tone down the color, then on my last tap would be Cat Colors. Then I went in with Dog and Pony, which is the more neutralized mauvey purple color, mixed in with Freebird, which is a royal blue color, and I mixed those together into my deep crease area, or what would be for my eyes the deep crease area. I went in with Hen Party, that gorgeous glitter number 14. I put it in my inner lid to the middle of my lid, tapped it on, and then I added the gorgeous Chameleon number 10, that gorgeous duochrome purple with the blue shift. I used a little packer brush to tap on a little bit more of that color to intensify it. I just kind of finessed the crease colors a little bit more. And there we go. That's my eye look. So I am so happy that I finally acquired my Marc Jacobs The Wild One palette. And I'm so glad, seriously, that I listened to my gut and believed that Marc Jacobs would actually come out with the cool trend and the more colorful trend, and I wasn't disappointed. Cool thing about Marc Jacobs eyeshadows, they really are very pigmented, very luxurious, very buttery, velvety, very dimensional colors, and I'm so happy that he came out with something that I really enjoy working with, more colors and more of a cool trend palette. I go the gamut. I like warm, I like cool, but I just don't like to be stuck in a rut. So this is really up my alley. And the neat thing about this palette too is that it does have its safety zones, right? That first row, the fourth row with the warm, you get your it's very balanced in that way. In fact, it's great for people who are like more neutral lovers, who want to kind of venture out into the little bit more wild side of life, into the jungle. This is a safe jungle to go into. It's a great starter palette for that, because you got those safe zones when you're kind of going, oh my goodness, maybe this is a little bit too much color. I think I want to kind of retreat now. This is a good palette. You have your retreating zones in it. And let me know if you plan on picking this up. Do you like the more colorful, cool trend that's coming out right now? I certainly do. I think we're ready for a change. I'm wondering, are you guys ready for a change? So let me know if you plan on getting this, or you plan on getting any other like more cool tone palettes or more colorful palettes. How are you enjoying this new trend that's blowing in? I'm sure finding it very refreshing, and I'm liking the direction that it's going in. Let me know if you're enjoying the direction that it's going in too, and you're kind of tired, or you still appreciate your neutrals, but you kind of like that this new color theme is coming into play. I do hope you enjoyed my review and my take on the Wild One palette, and if you did, do give it a thumbs up, like and share it with your friends, and remember to subscribe so that you can keep up with all my videos. Hit that bell notification button so that you won't miss out, and just remember, rock your own kind of wild beauty and keep on going and keep on glowing. I will.